Good evening, Norma. Good evening, Ms. Chapman. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to tonight's meeting. I'm Andrew Joyce, and I serve as chair of the Albany County Legislature. Before each meeting of the full legislature, our rules call for a period of public comment. We will have the clerk call on the members of the public who wish to speak in the order they signed up. I remind you all that our rules do not allow for us to question the speakers, nor do they question us. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Eston.
Here.
Brewski.
Here.
Burgeorge.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Clary.
Here.
Camisso.
Here.
Cunningham.
Here.
Demolowitz.
Here.
Drake.
Here.
Efacoro.
Here.
Ethier.
Here.
Feeney.
Here.
Fine.
Here.
Grimm.
Here.
Andrew Joyce.
Here.
Ray Joyce.
Here.
Kuhn.
Here.
Lakakis.
Right here.
Lockhart.
Here.
Mariello.
Here.
Mayo.
Here.
McLaughlin.
Here.
McLean Lane. I see her. She's here. Miller.
Present.
O'Brien.
Here.
Hurley.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Plosky.
Here.
Reedy.
Here.
Reinhardt. Reinhardt. Ricard.
Present, Madam Clerk.
Simpson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Touche.
Here.
Tunney.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Whalen.
Here.
Willingham.
Present.
I have 38 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Speakers will be given 3 minutes each. Madam Clerk, please identify the first speaker.
Carol Warneman.
Hi, can you all hear me?
We hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I'm here to talk about the budget, but first, I want to thank Jeff Hurley for local law M about the tree planting and reforestation. Trees, in addition to being beautiful, play a major role, a crucial role in reducing global warming. So thanks. About the budget, specifically, the money from the MSA, the Master Settlement Agreement with Big Tobacco. If I'm too late for 2022, well, I'm very early for 2023. Albany County is getting $4.3 million from this. And primarily, it's supposed to be spent on prevention, but at least in the past, it hasn't been. Ours has been going to Medicaid, which is, of course, a wonderful program that should be expanded, but it does nothing to prevent starting and continuing smoking. Now, every year, Big Tobacco spends $16 million on marketing, generally advertising, and that's just in New York State. What we need to be spending money on for prevention is what's called counter advertising. And some of the best of this so far has been designed by teens, and they do wonderful work. We need a massive educational campaign. And for many issues, the most effective way to reach young people is peer-to-peer education. Content created by young people for young people.
1 minute, Carol.
Oh, thank you. So I'm picturing young people in after-school programs at Boys and Girls Clubs, or maybe even some courses that are relevant, YouTube material, a short film, and there's just picture all that can be done with this money. And especially, by the way, for underfunded schools in areas that are disproportionately affected by tobacco.
30
So we
seconds.
need to think creatively about this money, and educational materials created and the learning experiences of the youths who create it would just be wonderful. Now, there's so much brain power in this room. So I'm asking you to think outside the box and think inside a different box. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Tricia Cabby. Tricia.
Tricia, are you here? I'd imagine Ms. Cabay was going to speak in favor of the Crown Amendment. Been a big supporter of this effort. If we can catch her before we begin our meeting, we'll absolutely bring her on. Give her one more chance. Ms. Cabay, are you on?
Oh, Cabay.
Okay, we do need to proceed. Is there anyone in this meeting who wishes to speak on an on-item agenda tonight or an off-item agenda? Hearing none, the public forum is now closed. To call our November meeting to order. And as Thursday is Veterans Day, I would like to ask our veterans, Mr. Bruschi, Mr. Camiso, and Mr. Smith to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. As we often say, or as I often say, this legislature is a bit of a family. Our legislature, our members, our staff here. We may disagree on policy items and in a way of doing things, but we are one family and we are united, especially in times during loss. And if you're like me, you followed Mr. Bergdorf's experience over the past year or more, taking care of his mother. Spent a lot of time on the road, going back and forth from his home to Long Island. Mr. Bergdorf, I hope you take a lot of pride in the honoring of your mother and the care that you took care of her in her remaining months. There's nothing quite like losing your mother. So we all join you in sadness and in condolences. And if you would please, I'd like to ask everyone to please mute their devices if they haven't muted already. And if you would, everyone, please, who are joining us tonight, join me in a moment of silence for Francis Bergdorf.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate it. I've gotten a lot of nice notes and a lot of nice cards from our colleagues, and you're right. Even if someone's 97 years old, it's never easy.
Right. We're with you, Mr. Bergdorf, with your loss.
Thank you.
A good son. Okay, on to business. Let's take note of additional sponsors with the clerk. One administrative note. Oh, we're going to call the roll. Mr. Collins, keep me on point here. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Baston,
Here.
Bruschi,
Here.
Bergdorf,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Clay,
Here.
Clary,
Here.
Camiso,
Here.
Cunningham,
Here.
Demalowitz,
Here.
Drake,
Here.
Efacoro,
Here.
Ethier,
Here.
Feeney,
Here.
Fine,
Here.
Grimm,
Here.
Andrew Joyce,
Here.
Ray Joyce,
Here.
Kuhn,
Here.
Dukakis,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
Mariello,
Here.
Mayo,
Here.
McLaughlin,
Here.
McLean Lane,
Here.
Miller,
Present.
O'Brien,
Here.
Hurley,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
Flosky,
Here.
Reedy,
Here.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Ricard,
Present, Madam Clerk.
Simpson. Mert, I see you.
Here,
Smith,
here.
Smith,
Here. Here.
Touche,
Here.
Tony,
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Whalen,
I'm here.
Willingham,
Present.
39 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, we would like to take note of additional sponsors with the clerk. And a brief administrative note before we begin and before we tackle our agenda, which is lengthy. I want to remind everyone to please remain muted unless you desire to speak. We've successfully done over 100 remote meetings, and there's no reason to end that success now. If you do find yourself on a phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. Okay, Madam Clerk, first item under previous business.
Resolution number 389, authorizing and directing the Water Purification District to require testing for perfluorooctanic acid and perfluorooctane sulfonic acid of treated and leachate waste stream.
Well done, Madam Clerk. Proud of you on that one. Mr. Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say a few brief words. As we're becoming more and more aware about the dangers of PFOAs on our health or environment, we've had a couple of high-profile local cases. It just demonstrates how important this resolution is. Testing for PFOAs will allow us to gather the necessary information to address these potential concerns. It's really the first step that's necessary to address any potential issues that we might find. Gathering this information will allow us to do that. So just want to point out, in addition to testing from industrial facilities, this will also authorize us to require testing, the Water Purification District to require testing from landfills, testing for leachate. And, this is really just about protecting our precious natural resources, in particular the Hudson River, which I know is very important to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Fine. Any more comments on Resolution 389? All those in favor on Resolution 389?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Resolution 389 passes unanimous. Well done, Mr. Fine.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, first item under current business.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Department of Transportation regarding the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 391 passes unanimous. Resolution 392, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Appalachia regarding the purchase of road salt for the control of snow and ice on state and county roads.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 392 passes unanimous. 393, please.
Authorizing a customer project commitment agreement with the New York Power Authority regarding the street light conversion project.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Joyce,
Yep, please note my.
you've got it. All those opposed? Okay, Resolution 393 passes with one abstention. Resolution 394, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension regarding the provision of juvenile justice prevention services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 394 passes unanimous. 395, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Berkshire Farm Center and Services for Youth regarding the provision of juvenile justice prevention services for the Home Run Program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 395 passes unanimous. 396, please.
Authorizing an agreement with LaSalle School regarding the provision of juvenile justice prevention services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 396 passes unanimous. 397, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Community Maternity Services regarding the provision of clinical prevention services with community and recreational supports.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 397 passes unanimous. 398, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Trinity Alliance of the Capital Region regarding the provision of clinical prevention services with community and recreational supports.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? For 398 passes unanimous. For 399, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Parsons Child and Family Center regarding the provision of clinical prevention services with community and recreational supports.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 399 passes unanimous. 400, please.
Authorizing an agreement with St. Anne Institute regarding the provision of specialty prevention services for victims of sexual abuse.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 400 passes unanimous. For 401, please.
Authorizing an agreement with St. Anne Institute regarding the provision of specialty prevention services for juvenile sex offenders.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 401 passes unanimous. Resolution 402, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Berkshire Farm Center and Services for Youth Focus on the Future program regarding the provision of prevention services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 402 passes unanimous. 403, please.
Authorizing an agreement with St. Catherine's Center for Children regarding foster care specialty prevention services, parent care program.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? For 403 passes unanimous. 404, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Community Maternity Services regarding foster care specialty prevention services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 404 passes unanimous. 405, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Cayuga Centers regarding the provision of clinical prevention services with community and recreational supports.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
405 passes unanimous. For 406, please.
Authorizing an agreement with St. Catherine's Center for Children regarding clinical prevention services with community and recreational supports, Burn Knox Westerlo Connections Program.
All those in favor? Opposed? 406 passes unanimous. 407, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Cayuga Centers regarding the provision of juvenile justice prevention services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 407 passes unanimous. 408, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Cayuga Centers regarding the provision of functional family therapy.
All those in favor? Opposed? 408 passes unanimous. 409, please.
Amending resolution number 245 for 2021 regarding agreements with various agencies for the facilitation of services associated with the Family First Prevention Services Act.
All those in favor? Opposed? 409 passes unanimous. 410, please.
Authorizing agreements with providers of home establishment furnishings.
All those in favor? Opposed? 410 passes unanimous. 411, please.
Authorizing agreements regarding the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and amending the 2021 Department of Social Services budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 411 passes unanimous. 412, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Equinox regarding non-residential domestic violence services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 412 passes unanimous. Okay, on item 413, there's been updated language on which has been sent to your devices. The new language directs that the public comment period begins on December 1, 2021. Can I have a motion to amend 413?
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
Willingham, seconded by Mr. Efficorro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on resolution 413 as amended, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 413 as amended passes unanimous. Resolution 414, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Braun Media regarding media and marketing services for the Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 414 passes unanimous. For 415, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding sexual assault crisis and prevention services.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 415 passes unanimous. Okay, on items 416 through 425, we can group these because they're all coming from the same funding source. Can I have a motion to group 416 through 425?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Ricard, seconded by Mr. Ward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now on items through 416 through 425, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolutions 416 through 425 pass unanimous. Go down to 426. Just like the prior resolutions, we can group 426 through 434. Can I have a motion to group 426 through 4?
Motion, Chair.
Motion by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mrs. Willingham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on resolutions 426 through 434, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, resolutions 426 through 434 pass unanimous. Let's go to 435. Madam Clerk, 435.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2020 statewide interoperability communications grant and amending the 2021 Sheriff's Office budget.
Denote my abstention. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 435 passes unanimous. 436, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the state law enforcement terrorism prevention grant and amending the 2021 Sheriff's Office budget.
Denote my abstention. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 436 passes unanimous with one abstention. Resolution 437, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2021 State Homeland Security Program.
Denote my abstention. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 437 passes with one abstention, unanimous. Resolution 438, please.
Amending the 2021 Sheriff's Office budget, year-end adjustments.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 438 passes unanimous. 439, please.
Amending resolution number 312 for 2018 regarding construction services at the Shaker Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 439 passes unanimous. 440, please.
Authorizing corrections of the tax rolls for the town of Colony.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or 440 passes unanimous. 441, please.
Amending the 2021 Water Purification District budget, overtime expenses.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 441 passes unanimous. 442, please.
Amending the 2021 Water Purification District budget, equipment repair.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 442 passes unanimous. 443, please.
Designating the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau as Albany County's tourist promotion agency to receive tourism, advertising, and promotion grants.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 443 passes unanimous. 444, please.
Authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1569 New Road in the town of Bethlehem.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 444 passes unanimous. 445, please.
Appointment of members to the Community Services Board.
Folks, I'd like to remind you, if you're not speaking, please mute your device. We got a couple more items to go. We're almost done. Thank you. All those in favor of resolution 445?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 445 passes unanimous. 446, please.
Designation of newspapers for publication of legal notices.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 446 passes unanimous. 447, please.
Amending the 2021 Albany County budget to provide funding for the commissions on redistricting.
Please refer 447 to the Law Committee. 448, please.
Amending the rules and regulations for Albany County employees regarding health insurance benefits for retirees to allow for utilization of qualifying years of veteran service to apply to the qualifying years necessary to become eligible for health insurance benefits.
Please refer 448 to the Personnel Committee. 449, please.
Public hearing on local law number M for 2021, a local law concerning the cutting, replacing, and preservation of forest lands by county authorities.
Please refer 449 to the Law Committee and the Conservation, Sustainability, and Green Initiatives Committee. Madam Clerk, local law H.
Local law number H for 2021, a local law of the County of Albany, New York relating to the safe use of electric scooters and bicycles with electric assist.
Long roll call, please.
Weston,
In favor.
Brewski,
Yes.
Bergdorf,
Aye.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Clary, Camisso,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Demolowitz,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
Efacoro,
Yes.
Ethier,
Yes.
Feeney,
Yes.
Fine,
Yes.
Grimm,
Yes.
Andrew Joyce,
Yes.
Ray Joyce,
Yes.
Coon,
Aye.
Lakakis,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Muriello,
Yes.
Mayo,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McLean Lane,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Hurley,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Flosky,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Ricard,
Aye.
Simpson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Touche,
Yes.
Sunny,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Willingham.
Yes.
Clary, are you there? 38.
Local H passes unanimous. Local law I.
Local law number I for 2021, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending local law number 1 for 2013, entitled An Ominous Human Rights Law for Albany County.
Long roll call, please.
Beston,
In favor?
Brewski,
Stand by, everyone. Before we proceed with the long roll call, we recorded those two votes, but I see Mr. Bergdorf has his hand up. So we're going to get to Mr. Bergdorf first.
I personally have no problem with the intent of the law. I am also opposed to Albany County injecting itself into the personal and personnel grooming and uniform practices of every business in Albany County. There is a state law that deals with this. And I think that if this is a problem, it should be amended at the state level. But I think while I agree with the intent, I think it is a poor precedent for us to start by going into telling every business in Albany County how they have to operate their uniforms and their dress code, et cetera. So I will be voting no, not against the concept, but because I don't believe it is the county's business to be doing this.
Mr. Drake?
Oh, thank you. As a member of the Personnel Committee, I'd like to say that there was a follow-up memo that we were waiting for. Mr. Ward had first brought up questions about the existing law and so forth, and I don't see it. I may have missed it, but there was a follow-up that was coming. Was that dispersed? Can anyone answer that question?
Chairman, if you don't mind me inserting myself briefly.
Ms. Kennedy?
I don't believe there was a memo that was discussed. I had said that I would follow up and clarify with the members who had questions of the Personnel Committee. My understanding is that you are the Republican, the minority members of the legislature would be following up with their own counsel. If that's not your understanding, certainly we can provide whatever counsel you may need, but I would defer to minority counsel in advising.
Okay, well, that wasn't my understanding. I thought we were getting a Personnel Committee rather than a partisanly divided review. Well, no matter now, we don't have it. So in any event, if I may continue, Mr. Chairman.
After you.
Thank you. As Mr. Bergdorf stated, there is a state law pertaining to this type of thing. And I think it's important that we have standardization around the region. As it relates to businesses, certainly many of them operate in multiple counties. I don't think we've gotten a whole lot of feedback from the business community on this. What impact it might have. Many people have brought up the impact on schools like LaSalle or CBA and so forth. The ambiguity, I think, of application here may be troubling for us as a body. There's really no enforcement. I think we really do run the risk of getting involved in something that's not particularly our place. I'd also like to point out that it's my understanding that the impetus for this came from possibly one or two, and in some cases anonymous complaints, generic complaints about potential issues with coming to work with whether it be a headdress or a turban, whether it be a hairstyle. I don't see that a lot of evidence or any evidence that this is an epidemic issue in the county. And it seems like we're reaching into places that we really don't need to be. And it isn't really our purview, with the state already controlling this and having, let's say 99% of this sort of thing covered. I think this is something that really could be addressed were it to be a major issue that came up for, hundreds or thousands of our citizens. I don't think that it is something that rises to that level that requires action on the part of the county legislature to get into regulating uniform practices at local businesses that may or may not operate in more than one county. So I think that this is something best left to the state if there are myriad issues pertaining to hairstyles not currently protected by state law, and that there are no means of redress through human rights and labor department and so forth at the state. Then I think that'd be something where Albany County could take up the mantle for a serious and difficult issue. But at this time, I do not see it rising to that level, and therefore would be voting no again to qualify, not in opposition to the concept. Well, certainly nobody wants to be discriminated against, and we don't condone that. But I think to the need and the role of Albany County. Thanks for hearing me.
Mr. Simpson?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I don't speak often, but I speak when things are important. And this particular issue, although it might seem innocuous, actually is quite significant for what it actually represents. There's this bogus cry around the country about critical race theory. I happen to be one of the few people in the country that actually teaches critical race theory. I've taught at NYU, I've taught at Cardozo Law School at Yeshiva University. I've taught in Albany at Mediation Matters and a number of times in Washington, DC. First of all, the human rights law, the New York state law, supersedes anything that's done by the county. So we're only trying to augment something by adding the issue of hair wraps and other accoutrements that are particularly relevant to Black women. But the larger concept is one of this. The state law specifically mentions cornrows, braids, and dreadlocks. Dreadlocks, by definition, are long. That is what distinguishes them from braids and cornrows and other hair extensions. The idea that the Black letter law that specifically names the types of hair that are protected by the human rights law automatically means that it's relevant on a county level. But the idea that there's some kind of phantom burden on business just doesn't pass the common sense test. What is the cost of business of somebody wearing a personal hairstyle? If patrons are offended by a particular grooming style of an employee, that becomes an issue of basically discrimination. A person should not be denied employment based on their personal lifestyle choices. And the fact that there's this confusion about what's meant is either one of two things. Either people who are supposed to be leaders are not doing their due diligence to understand what's going on. And the issue of we should defer to the state. We are elected by the people of Albany County to be leaders, not to be followers. And if we take the initiative on something that's correct and lead the state, then that's our responsibility. But the idea that people have this phantom concept of, well, it's a burden on business or they don't understand, it's confusing. I don't know what's so confusing about this. This is not rocket science. People of color have certain body characteristics, including their hair, that, notwithstanding exceptions like Bo Derek and other people who follow the fashion trend that's led by people of color, it's an issue, a very practical one, that Black people face in the workforce openly and often. The fact that people are not empowered to bring charges forward is just another case of the level of oppression that people are exposed to. So I am 100% in favor of this. I have a level of discomfort that my colleagues, number one, either have confusion, or if they have confusion, are not willing to do enough research to clarify what's a very simple concept. And so I, implore us to be leaders and not followers, and stand up for justice for the people who elected us. That's my position. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you.
Mr. Ward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got you, Mr.
I tend to agree with Mr. Bergdorf that I don't really like to get involved in state law and amending state law. But I also have a lot of respect for Ms. Chapman and her colleagues that feel so strongly about this. And I definitely had a lot of questions in committee and a lot of questions in caucus as it relates to some of the private schools in Albany. And of course, the biggest employer with a hair policy is the New York Yankees, probably in New York State, or probably the most high profile, and how they would deal with it. And I did reach out to a leader in the local school that would be affected by it most. And he told me that they are speaking about the state law already, and he doesn't believe that this law would affect what they're trying to do too much, as long as they can have a policy that addresses length of hair, which our council has told me would pass the muster. So I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Hey, Mr. Brisky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like to speak as a business person and as a vet. When I was in the Navy, they had very strict rules around hairstyles, and I saw how systematically these rules were used to over-police women and over-police Black people. Those rules did not contribute to good order in our service. They really did nothing except to increase the time that it took for those people to get ready each day, and one more reason to kind of slow them down. The Navy has moved on, the Army has moved on, and if those policies are good enough for our soldiers, they're clearly good enough for our citizens. Second, as a business person, as someone that hires people locally, I've always found that the best companies come when you can bring your whole self to work. We're not asking people to make any political stand with their hair. We're asking them to have the right to wear their hair as it naturally is, as God made them. And if we believe that such hairstyles are disruptive to school or to the workplace, I think that really invites a question of whether or not we have a very white male-centric view of what those places are actually like. Third, the comment was made that this doesn't really happen enough for it to warrant our view. I think if it even happens once, that someone is held back for a potentially racist reason, maybe the person doesn't mean it to be racist, but I think that if we think about it, then there's some kind of bias in there. If it happens once, it's worthy for us to act. That's the nature of what we do. Fourth, I think that what we haven't talked about is there's really serious health costs here. The caustic creams that people use to straighten kinky hair to fit into a business mindset have very real health costs on people. I don't think that you should have to sacrifice your health to have a white collar job. And this is the first way that we can show that. Finally, there were some comments on, this seems like it's the right law. We want to do something, but the venue is wrong. And I think more times than not, those views end up stifling progress. By our very nature as county officials, we sit above cities and down below the state. If we always wait for another one to act, we'll always have a reason to not act. In which case, why are we even serving? I think that we should vote for this bill. Albany can lead the way, and we can show that you don't have to hide yourself at work, that you can be your true self at work. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
when we were in the law committee, specifically was brought up about, if there was a hygiene issue or specifically like, when it came to food service and stuff like that. And Ms. Chapman and I believe our counsel came back and said it does not override health standards specific when it comes to specifically on that, which was allegedly one of the concerns. And so I want to put that off to the side as an argument, but it is our job and role that when there is ambiguity in a law, for us to come back, as we are sort of a full-time legislature, meaning that we appear the whole time, while the state is only a part-time legislature, meaning they come back certainly. And when it came to taking actions, whether it was about third-party fees, we didn't talk about that the whole region needs to adopt our standard before we did it because of business confusion. We said it's the right thing to do for our businesses, and this is the right thing to do for our citizens. So I don't like that there's an excuse sometimes to do things for business, but then on a regional level, and sometimes there's not. And it seems to be an argument that's used when it's convenient. And I would say that right now, if it happens once it's too much, take the ambiguity out of it. And I hope the state follows our lead. I'll be voting aye on this, and I want to thank Ms. Chapman for her leadership on this and Mr. Simpson for his words in support.
Ms. McLean Lane.
Thank you very much for recognizing me, Chairman. One thing I would just like to say is what I've learned in this body. And what I have learned is that my experience is not the same as everybody else's experience. And I have had to learn, and over a period of time, that the experience that I have had in life does not match the experience that many of the other people in this body have had. I would like to know what the disruption is in a business for somebody to have dreadlocks, for somebody to wear a hair turban. There's no disruption of business. And I think we're also overlooking the fact that we are an incredibly diverse county. I mean, Colony alone has a significant diverse population from not just African American, not just, white, but from all over the world. And these are things we need to recognize. And I commend my colleague, Legislator Chapman, for bringing this forward. And I commend my colleague, Legislator Simpson, for also being such a strong advocate for this. I find this a minor issue, but I also find it an issue that I need to understand that this is not my experience, and we should listen to the people whose experience it is. Thank you very much.
This is Carolyn. May I speak? I don't. Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, I was on mute. We've got a line here, Carolyn. We'll get to you in a few moments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. At this time, we'd like to call on Ms. Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman Joyce, for this opportunity. And I thank you for all my colleagues that are the questions and the answers that they have came up with. But this law is very, very dear to me. I represent the 4th District. I represent West Hill. And not only West Hill, I had other people that have came to me and have spoke out on this to me, and I had to bring it. I had to bring it to the body because they were being discriminated going to their jobs and on their jobs, but they were afraid to come out to speak on behalf of what was going on with them. So they thought of not robbery, but to come to me, and I really respect that. And I'm here to represent them. So I really wanted to just let the body to know just how important this is. Everyone has said what they thought and what's going on with the state law and everything. We know all that. I'm just asking if we can just add in the turbans and the head wraps. That's all we're talking about. head turbans and the head wrap. And I appreciate what everyone is saying. And I just wanted to know if we could just all just be on one accord and probably just vote on this local law. And I just want to thank you for this time just to speak and just to be the voice of West Hill. Not only West Hill, there's other people I know that probably have had that problem, but as Mr. Drake was saying, that no, you haven't heard of anybody coming out saying anything, because they're not going to come out to you, but they will come out to somebody of people of color. And I just really think it's really good that we have our body of people of color to represent our people. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. Moriello.
I have a question, a couple of questions, and maybe the majority council could help with these answers. I live about 1.5 miles from CBA, and I know they have a policy of other students having short hair. So does this law supersede their policy? Would CBA have to change their policy to conform to this law?
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to respond, or?
If you would be so inclined, Ms. Kennedy, you don't have to, but thank you.
That's fine. We did talk about this extensively at both the Law and Personnel Committee meetings. As I indicated, this is a 2019 law. Length policies have not specifically been addressed yet or made their way up through the court system. However, based on the body of employment discrimination law and all of the sex discrimination case law related to length of hair, my understanding is that it would not be prohibited. I know there are some who would disagree with that. However, that based on my review, that is what I have seen.
So what you're saying then is that if CBA has their policy of short hair, then everybody would have to abide by that policy. Is that correct?
My understanding of the state law, which again is very limited in its scope, it merely adds hairstyles to the definition of racial discrimination. And this local law that's proposed tonight merely adds turban wraps and a couple of other hairstyles to that list. However, yes, my understanding is that a grooming policy, which is related to some legitimate reason, such as health and safety, that sort of thing, things, if there were an issue where length of hair was an issue for safety, if you were working on certain tools or that sort of thing. You could have grooming policies for that reason, as long as they're uniformly created and uniformly taken into account.
All right, I find this a little bit confusing. I'm not comfortable with this because I'm not comfortable with the language. I'll probably be voting no for this, but thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
Ms. McLaughlin. Ms. McLaughlin, you're muted.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I'm coming now. Bye.
I really just want to, first of all, thank my colleague, Ms. Chapman, for presenting this legislation, and whoever her constituent was that brought this issue to her. I want to commend them as well, because it was a courageous act that she came forward and defending herself and her right to just be who she is. It's a cultural thing. And I would dare say we would not be having this discussion had not this young woman come to, had not she come to Ms. Chapman with this issue. We would not be having this discussion that brought up all of these other issues. My understanding is this legislation is adding turbans and head wraps to the legislation so that individuals who wear their hair utilizing head wraps and turbans are not discriminated against on the job. So I commend her for doing this. And I believe people have to understand. I think someone said it earlier, I used the terms, I'm just allowing you to be you. And this is, I'm going to use the word cultural rather than say something else about this issue. And I take pride. I mean, I wear head wraps, and I would hate to think that I would go in someplace and somebody would tell me, remove your head wrap. Because God knows what would happen. So if we have to codify this, so be it. But it's certainly time to do it. If someone brought it up and now we are being responsive to what constituent has brought forward. And again, Ms. Chapman, I want to thank you for taking the lead on this. And I wholeheartedly support this legislation, and I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Ms. Willingham.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I just would like to say that I too commend Norma. I'm bringing this legislation forward. There's just a few things that I want to express. Just because there are not hundreds of thousands of people with maybe whom you deal with that have this problem, we all are still must be committed, because there's only 300,000 people in the county of Albany anyway. When the census finally comes out and we know what the numbers are, we will still find out that it's quite possibly that there may not be, let's say, 100,000 people of color. However, we are here to represent everyone as a whole. It is our responsibility to do just that. You may not have people in your household or people in your constituency who deal with cultural issues, such as the way Black men or Black women choose to, whether it's wrap their hair, the way they choose to lock their hair, the way they choose to braid their hair, or the way they choose to updo their hair the way I do. If you look now on here, you will see that there are different hairstyles that we all wear. So I would say to you that, yes, this is a cultural issue. I think we're dancing around the fact that the word here is that we are trying to keep our people from being discriminated against. We can no longer stand by the side and wait till people are comfortable and understand what we go through. If we say it, that means that it does exist. Nobody is trying to change the state law. We are trying to do something with the county law that says this. Please add head wraps to this. And you do have to look at the legislative intent. And in this particular case, it involved a young woman who was told to remove her head wrap. And then after she did, the way her hair was fixed, she was ridiculed for that. So we need to be more responsive to whether it's one person. That's why they name laws after one individual, because something that an individual has gone through. And it does something to the senses of the folk who take up the cause and the issue to do something about it. Again, I appeal to my colleagues here on the legislature to please vote in favor of this. You may not have to deal with this situation, but we do. And so please, I ask that you support this legislation. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Simpson.
Yes, I just want to state for the record that, and I think I've been in this body since 2012. And so I think that consistently, I believe that people would understand that I don't just say things willy-nilly or to appease people. So I want to say for the record, I have the highest respect for Councilor Kennedy, but I can't let it stand her wrong interpretation of the law. The human rights law explicitly states that it's discriminatory to deny people equal rights based on the fact that they have cornrows, which are by definition long. And so this issue of, you know, like I said, I've said in our personnel committee hearings, I've been on the National Board of Blacks in Government since 2001 to 2004. And I've been a regional council member where we've had several meetings going back to 2001 at West Point, where there are a number of cadets of color who have cornrows, extensions, and dreadlocks. But the issue of these pseudo-military schools like LaSalle or CBA that have no safety or health reasons other than they have a preference for short hair in the old military style, which is no longer practiced in the current U.S. military, nor in the New York Police Department or the LA Police Department. This is a classic example of what critical race theory is about. We have a law that has a good basis based on historical discrimination for its need, and yet we have people who want to reinterpret it at their convenience based on their preference. That is what critical race theory is about. We don't teach critical race theory in public schools anywhere in the country. There's only a couple of law schools and colleges that do that. But this notion that based on certain people's sense of privilege, that they can reinterpret things based on their own culture and lifestyle is wrong. And that's what the human rights law is for. And that's what is our responsibility to support. So I just want to have on the record, it is a wrong interpretation to say that a biased interpretation of old cultural norms vis-a-vis short hair in quasi-military institutions, when the United States military has moved past that, is wrong. And I don't want that to be on the record. So I just trying to clarify the record.
Okay, thank you. And just so everyone knows, I want to remind everyone that we encourage robust debate here. We should debate this issue as much as comfortable, but everyone is allowed 5 minutes to debate a certain item and they have 3 minutes rebuttal. And again, we encourage robust debate. We want to discuss as much as we can, but we're getting into that time limit here and I don't want to cut people off. So with that, I'll go to Mr. Clay.
Thank you, Chairman. I won't take up the time to be redundant and repeat things that have already been said. I made a statement at our caucus meeting, and that statement still holds. And so that rather than be repetitious, just let me say that I support the law 100%. I disagree with my colleagues who have their reasoning to oppose the law. So I signed on to it because I support it. I have relatives that are at CBA. I asked over there and they have no problem with it, so they tell me, because they have their codes over there and this law would not affect that. Again, I would ask that,
Ready?
Our colleagues support the law. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Ethier.
Yes, I would like to call for a question on this. I think we had a good lengthy debate. I think the remarks are good on both sides. I think our decisions, we're mostly made up by now. So I'd like to call for a vote now if possible.
Okay, and I mean, in order for us to go through that, I don't want to go through that motion. We have instead of going through that process of calling the question and voting on it, we have Mr. Moriello and Mr. Ward are waiting to speak. Gentlemen, are you ready to make a decision here?
I'm ready to, I'd like to make a statement.
Okay, well, Mr. Moriello is first. The question's been called.
I get that.
Okay, I just want to make just a quick comment. I see that there is a difference of opinion here on this, and maybe we should hold this a month until we get this clarified between Mr. Simpson and council and bring it back next month. That's my only comment. That's the confusion I'm having with this. So maybe we should just hold it for a month. Thank you.
Mr. Ward?
To my body here, and this takes a lot of pain for me to say this, but I have Mr. Simpson, I'm very upset that you have referred to one of the finest institutions in our county as privileged. And I think that maybe you should go and find out a little bit more about CBA, which is one of the most inclusive schools and diverse schools in this county before you make a statement like that. They have a uniform policy that affects everyone in the school, no matter background, religion, or anything. Everybody is the same at CBA. And they have some very outstanding young people that graduate from that school, and they go on to be very successful in life. And to call them privileged, I think you should look into it a little more because a lot of people from your district attend that school and do very well there. And your comments have got me thinking a little bit different, because if you disagree with what our council is saying, then I'm very confused. And you said you're an expert on this. I'm very confused on this whole law right now. I know we have a state law, and I know that CBA is working with the state law, and they told me that they do not have a problem with adding the turbine to it. However, you have added things to it to our council that you disagree with council on the intent of the state law. Then I'm very confused, and I don't know how I'm going to vote right now. But I do take offense to those comments that CBA is somehow an exclusive, or I don't know. I'm very upset about that.
Okay, we have Mr. Ricard. I would like to do a long roll call vote on this item after Mr. Ricard's comments, if everyone's okay with that. Mr. Ricard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to echo Mr. Ward's comments too. I'm almost a graduate, and Mr. Simpson, I take somewhat of offense to your comments, to be honest with you. These kids, Sal, Rensselaer County, obviously, CBA in Albany County, they come from many different ethnic backgrounds, economic backgrounds, and I'm somewhat disappointed you said that, to be honest with you. Take a visit like Sean said. Come over to Rensselaer County, go to LaSalle. See what type of students go there. That's the first thing I want to say. Secondarily, we discussed this in committee. I was all in favor in voting for this, okay? And I also said that once we discuss something committee, that's it, we're going to move forward. Majority Council gave us sound advice. I had several questions on it, as did Mr. Ward, as did some of our colleagues. She gave advice. She's the expert. I'm somewhat disappointed that you're coming back now and saying this in particular about CBA. I do take offense to that. As a result, unfortunately, I'm going to vote not in favor of this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Chairman Joyce, may I speak?
Folks, we had mentioned before, we have a certain amount of time to speak on items per our rules. Mr. Simpson, I see your hand is raised again. 3 minutes, and then we're going to move on to Ms. Willingham, Mr. Ficoro, and Ms. Whalen, and hopefully we can get to a point where we can vote on this item. Mr. Simpson, 3 minutes.
Yeah, my response, and I don't apologize for it for a second, is specifically, I don't know for a fact whether CBA or LaSalle have short hair policies, but what I do know is if they do have short hair policies that would run afoul of somebody who has dreadlocks, and I suspect there may not be a lot of people who have dreadlocks who want to be part of those institutions. And I don't denigrate those institutions because I come from a military background myself and highly support the military in all its forms. But the simple law, the simple fact is, if there is a policy in a quasi-military school for short hair that explicitly runs afoul of the intent and the black letter law of the human rights, New York State human rights law, and it would be discriminatory to have a uniform policy of short hair that systematically discriminates against people of color who don't have short hair, for which the state human rights law has been enshrined. So notwithstanding the merits or demerits, my response is specifically to a uniform policy of short hair that by definition explicitly discriminates against people who have dreadlocks. It's just that simple. And if people can't understand that, maybe they're not in the right institution.
Hey, Ms. Willingham, same rules apply. 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. I would just like to say I would hate for this to end on a discussion on CBA, because that's not what this is about. This right here is about people of color. Not only that, it's and people of color. It in itself is a diverse cultural group of people. Diverse cultural group of people who have particular issues that we're talking about tonight. So I don't want anybody to say they don't want to vote for this because their interpretation maybe of what Mert said about CBA. The discussion that we're having is not about CBA. It is about this law and the intent of what it is supposed to do. And it has to do with a cultural issue as far as people of color is concerned. Chairman, I appreciate you giving me the time. And I ask you, Mr. Ward and Mr. McCarr, please reconsider and go back to what the beginning and what the intent is. And I too hope that we do. It's time to call for a motion. Question. Thank you, Chairman.
Seconded.
Okay, the question has been called.
Second.
Seconded, thirded, fourth. There's been robust debate on this tonight. We're kind of veering off the edge here in terms of the intent of what we're trying to discuss. I think we're all ready to make a decision. Let's have a long roll call, please. On local law, aye.
Beston,
In favor.
Brewski,
Proudly, yes.
Bergdorf,
No.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Clary. Clary, he's there.
We'll come back to him.
Okay. Camisso,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Demolowitz,
Yes.
Drake,
No.
Efacoro,
Yes.
Ethier,
Yes.
Feeney,
Yes.
Fine,
Yes.
Grimm,
No.
Andrew Joyce,
Yes.
Ray Joyce,
Yes.
Coon,
Yes.
Lakakis,
Yes.
Lockhart,
No.
Muriello,
No.
Mayo,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McLean Lane,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Early,
No.
Peter,
Proudly, yes.
Plosky,
Absolutely, yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Ricard,
Sadly, no.
Simpson,
In the name of legitimate critical race theory, yes.
Smith,
No.
Touche,
Yes.
Tunney,
No.
Ward,
Yes.
Whalen,
I'm voting no on this. It doesn't even apply to schools. I don't even know why we're talking about schools. It applies to employers. And it's so
Schools employ.
confusing.
Willingham.
Not with its students. Maybe it's employees, but not
Okay,
the
thank you
students.
both.
Is it my turn
Yeah,
to
thank
vote,
you.
Chairman?
Yes.
Willingham votes yes.
Mr. Cleary?
He's there. I see him. All right, so.
Okay.
10,
We'll get the total when you're done.
I have 28 yes, 10 no.
Okay, local law I passes, 28 yes, 10 no. Local law J, please.
Local law number J for 2021, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, authorizing the county executive to negotiate a long-term power purchase agreement for property owned and maintained by Albany County.
Long roll call, please.
Beston,
Yes.
Brewski. Brewski,
Mr. Broski, you're
Yes.
muted. Okay.
Bergdorf,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Clary, Camisso,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Demalowitz,
Yes.
Drake.
Yeah.
For Carl,
Yes.
Ether,
Yes.
Feeny,
Yes.
Fine,
Yes.
Grimm,
Yes.
Andrew Joyce,
Yes.
Ray Joyce,
Yes.
Kuhn,
Yes.
Lakakis,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Murriello,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mayo,
Yes.
McLean Lane,
Yes.
Miller. Miller. O'Brien,
Yes.
Hurley,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Plasky,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Ricard,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Touche. Touche. Tunney,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Whalen,
Yes.
Willingham.
Yes.
It's unanimous with, I don't know what's going on with Clary.
Miller's yes too. Sorry, I had an internet issue.
Mr. Touche, are you here?
Yes. I vote yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, local law J for 2021 passes unanimous or not unanimous. 38-0, it is unanimous. Okay, local law M.
Local law number M for 2021, a local law concerning the cutting, replacing, and preservation of forest lands by county authorities.
Please refer local law M for 2021 to the Law Committee and the Conservation, Sustainability, and Green Initiatives Committee, please. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr.
Motion.
Peter.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Lachlan. All those in favor?
Good night.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Okay, good night, everyone. Be safe.